Hi, my name is John Vance, and I'm presenting the Seeing Movies module presentation. So the scene selection that I've chosen is the Nostromo landing sequence from Alien, because I'm a massive fan of the film, and when I was, told that we were either recreating a scene or analysing, I definitely first thought of Alien, but wasn't 100% sure which one to do, because a lot of the scenes are very, very ambitious in terms of creating something on a low budget. But I thought maybe the spaceship sequence could be a fun one to look into, because it's also I also found it interesting how it's one of the first times I sort of saw a difficult landing sequence in a film, rather than like the spaceship finding it really easy to, pilot, and sort of like gave that impression that, it's a bit more realistic and gritty and sets up the film for, the clear struggle that the characters are about to go through. If you want to play a little bit. Never mind. Other scenes that I was inspired by were from A Space Odyssey and Dark Star, because I wanted to sort of see what made other good spaceship sequences, like work, and what makes them iconic. And because obviously 2001 is the sort of original sci-fi film that pioneered the look for all the ones that came after. But obviously I was trying to recreate the alien scene. So, but when we were doing like test shooting and filming the short content piece, this was one of the pictures taken from one of the shots we did, which I thought was really similar to the scene from Space Odyssey with the Stargate. That one. And then this is just special mention because Dark Star is a very good film by John Carpenter, and a great honourable mention. I mean, if you want to see if it works.
Dave's just used confused.com.
Yeah, we'll go to the next one. Yeah, so the model of the spaceship was created by my friend Leon Cunningham, who has worked a lot with practical effects and creating models for films, and they do mostly art, but we always work together on things like this, so it was really fun to sort of give them ideas on how to create the spaceship and what to sort of model it after. This guy Ron Cobb is the visionary behind the spaceships in Alien, and I found it very inspiring, like the design and the sort of way that he creates like a brutalist used future look for his models, which I thought was really cool. I mean, this is the one that we made, which I'm really proud of. I think it could have been better, obviously, with a lot more time spent. It could have been a lot more detailed, but I mean, otherwise I'm very pleased with the way it turned out, personally. There's some further images. Yeah, this is just some pictures from the process of building the spaceship. You can sort of see the similarities between the Nostromo and our spaceship. I mean, that was obviously what I was going for. Yeah, I mean, if you go to the next slide, I think I spoke a lot about the spaceship. Some other scenes that almost had an influence but kind of like showed up by accident was some of the imagery similarities in Project Hail Mary. It had an influence on the short film for sure, and when I was setting up the lights, I was trying to get these otherworldly sort of visuals, and I remember seeing this video on the behind the scenes of Project Hail Mary, and it was they were using like practical lights for all of the like space galaxy look. And I thought, I mean, if they can do it on a somewhat low budget, well, they can do it with lights, then, I'll definitely give that a go. And I think we did a pretty good job considering what we had to work with. I nearly did the Blade Runner Tears and Rain monologue, but I chose not to because I thought there wasn't really a lot there to sort of go into, or maybe like attempt in different ways or recreate. It was just kind of, I mean, I really like the monologue for the scene, but it's not exactly got enough substance, I felt, compared to the spaceship scene. And I also really wanted to do a spaceship scene personally. I mean, you can start playing the, so let's play for a moment. I'm very happy with this. That was stop motion. I'll talk about that in a second. You get the if you go down and then back. Yeah, so that was my content piece. The little scenes of the astronaut I added in later because when I was looking through the scenes that I was analysing again, I realised that all of them had like a character that was almost looking at the screen or showing a sign of distress, or so I thought the scene would add a lot. It would add a lot more if I actually had something like that in it, which is why I added the little inserts of the astronaut. I think in terms of what went well, I'd say pretty much most of it went well. To be honest, it was kind of surprising what we managed to create because we didn't really know what we were going to do going into it fully until we found the light box that had the galaxy setting, which was like perfect for us. I think what I could have done differently next time is I would have probably used a wire to hold up the spaceship because there was a lot of shots that I couldn't do due to the stand that was underneath it. But I think working with those sort of difficulties made for it to forced us to get really close-up shots and use really low lighting. I mean, it was just really fun trying to figure out how to make something look actually believably in space. So, and I think I used a lot of similar techniques to what Ridley Scott used in Alien, personally. Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm very happy with the way this all turned out. I mean, I had a really fun time analysing Alien, the scene, because I really enjoyed the film, and it was really interesting attempting something that I've never had a go at before, like the spaceship sequence. So, yeah. Any questions?
If you could go back and do a completely different scene, either a different shot of the scene of Alien or a different movie completely, what would you do?
It's a good question. I mean, if it was an Alien, I would probably do the chestburster scene because that is like the most iconic scene in maybe sci-fi history. But I almost thought it would be it's a bit cliche almost, and I didn't know how I'd be able to do. I would love to attempt that though, to be honest. I mean, can't really say why I wouldn't. And then another scene from another film. I think I said earlier I was going to do Tears and Rain from Blade Runner, because I really like Blade Runner, but I just felt it was a bit dialogue heavy for what I wanted to actually attempt, like practical effects. So yeah. Any more questions?
If you could obviously use stop motion in the shot, would you, if you had more maybe time or if you had different resources, would you have tried to use an actor, or was that always sort of the vision to use a bit of stop motion in there?
To be honest, I think in a perfect situation I would have had an actor, but having a believable real astronaut costume
Yeah.
is quite hard to get on a small budget. But that's why it was actually really it was like quite convenient that I had this perfect little 1:12 scale model, like astronaut guy, just, and from Alien as well. It's actually a model of Dallas from Alien, if you didn't know. So yeah, I mean, I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, did you?
Any more questions? I'm sure I've answered a lot of your queries, but anything you can think of.
What would you say was like the most interesting part that you figured out while you were shooting it? Like, is it that you, because of your limitations, it gave you a lot more creativity? Obviously, you had to get closer shots. What would you say was the most interesting, almost like, sort of like a lesson that you might have learned?
Yeah, I think the most interesting lesson I learned from this was that it's not easy. I mean, that is really like simply, it's just, it doesn't look the way you would want it to in a way, and that's why I'd spend a lot of time like in post-production, like really darkening the scenes, and because there was a lot that it was kind of obvious it was like just a little model in a room with a projector, so I had to like actually really work with the shadows and make sure that, I mean, I think it's believable. It's kind of hard to know when you've been working on it for so long how it looks from the perspective of someone that's just seen it. But yeah, I mean, I think we did as best as we could. So thank you.
What equipment did you use when you filmed?
We used a phone to film because we didn't have access to a camera, annoyingly. But I almost feel like the phone, because it's not as good quality, it kind of hid some of the like more obvious fake sort of looking things, because it kind of obviously was like a bit bittier and grainier, but then that gave that like 80s look, you know. So yeah.
Kind of answered it, but if given the chance, and obviously you could go back and do it again, maybe with a bit more time, maybe a little bit of a budget, would you want to change anything major, or would you want to keep?
I think I would remodel the spaceship to look a little more intricate and like detailed, because I found it was a bit like, it looked really cool, but it was a little childish looking in a way. So I kind of like, going back, I would build maybe a bigger model with smaller details, so that when you film it up close, it like it's still somewhat believable. You know. But other than that, I mean, like I said, I'd change the wire, that, and then yeah, I think other than that, there's not really much I would change. Oh, and obviously the camera, I would use a real proper camera, like, to actually make it look nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was just a good test of, you know, what I'm capable of. It was fun to see where my limitations are. So yeah, thank you for listening. Goodbye.